Call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the roll call. Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Here. Next, move into a moment of silent prayer or private reflection. Amen. And if everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And do we have a need for a motion for an executive session?
I don't think so.
Moving on to 2.1, we have our student achievement with Arizona STEM Acceleration Project Fellowship.
Mr. President, Governing Board, audience members, we're very proud to recognize 13 teachers who completed their first year as Arizona STEM Acceleration Project Fellows. The Arizona STEM Acceleration Project is supported by Arizona State University Center for Science and the Imagination and Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College. The Arizona STEM Acceleration Project is a response to the pressing need to improve STEM education across the state. Arizona's economic future is connected to technological advances, and it is imperative we prepare students in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math so they are successful. ASAP is a grassroots effort to enhance and accelerate STEM learning in schools across Arizona. The project connects educators with professional development organizations and funding partners to build a more collaborative, more imaginative foundation for developing and delivering STEM resources and training opportunities to educators statewide. ASAP STEM Fellows receive the following benefits from ASU and the ASAP program: $2,000 in STEM supplies for their schools, a stipend for their work in developing lessons, attending professional development, and leading STEM activities for their students, access to a broad range of STEM professional development opportunities throughout Arizona. So this project, a very successful physics teacher, his name is Mike Vargas. He's an Einstein Fellow. He developed this project that received funding from the Arizona Department of Education through COVID relief funds. He partnered with Arizona State University and is now leading this program. It is a 2-year grant. This is our second year of it. Many of these STEM fellows will be participating again this year. I don't know if you read in the newspaper, but the Superintendent of Public Instruction, so Tom Horn, sent all of the people who got COVID relief funds and said, we're taking them all back. And I don't think I told you this, STEM fellow, so it's fine. The story ends nicely. We're doing tutoring, and he swept all of the funds. So you may have read articles that said Superintendent Tom Horn claws the funds back. Well, what you didn't maybe know is they were your funds. And so all of these organizations, all of these community groups, they had their funds swept back by the Arizona Department of Education. This is the one organization that not one dime was swept back. The institution, ASU, Mike Vargas, met with the superintendent and the Arizona Department of Education, and because they had so much data and so much impact on student learning, they were able to keep their funds, and the Department of Education said, how can we help you in the future? And so to me, this is a really compelling partnership that we had. We're one of the few districts across the state where we really worked in an organized manner to have 2 teachers per each school through 8th grade to really focus on embedding STEM. We know that Embedding STEM in 4th through 8th grade is really that readiness to get students to be successful in high school and then in STEM careers. So again, I just wanted to talk about the success of this program, the importance of this program, and then the importance of our partnership that we have that really has allowed us to do this program. So with that, I would like to congratulate the fellows who will briefly describe their project, how many students they impacted, and what resources were purchased and what they learned. And so I will start with our teachers representing Smoke Tree, Michael De La Cruz and Sarah Daniels. If you'll come on up.
I have to be first, okay. Okay, so I purchased Edison Robots. I did not have a lot of science knowledge before the new curriculum that came out. That kind of triggered my love for science just because of all the cool activities that came with it. And then that triggered me to want to sign up for this program. And so I really love science, I guess is my point now. And I purchased Edison Robots. The kids one day during science, I just kind of took them out. I had no idea what to do with them or how to work them. I just gave them to the kids and I said, go ahead and explore. Well, by the end of day like 3, they were able to do many things. They were able to make the Edison robots follow a light. They were able to make the Edison robots avoid obstacles. They were able to make them follow a straight line. They were able to take out their flashlights and make the Edison robots follow the flashlights. We got a little bit into the coding towards the end. That's something that now that I got accepted to the 2nd year fellowship, I'd like to get into that because I have no idea how to do that. So I will be learning with the kids how to actually code them to do really cool things. But I'll tell you what, they thought it was amazing. Then they took their knowledge of what they learned with those Edison robots, and we had a huge, it was called STEMazing Family Fun Night at Smoke Tree Elementary. And one of the little sections was roped off for the Edison robots. And there was probably about, 100 kids that came by and got to also test their knowledge with the Edison robots and play with them. And yeah, it was awesome. It was a great experience. I'm glad to be part of it again. So, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I prepared a speech because I'm nervous. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Michelangelo De La Cruz, and I'm the 6th grade science teacher at Smoke Tree Elementary School. My greatest accomplishment for ASAP Year 1 was our STEM night, wherein I was one of the lead coordinators together with Ms. Daniels and Mr. Humagbas. It was entitled STEMazing Family Fun Night with the theme, The Family That Learns Science Together Creates Bonds Together. It focused on the student engagement STEM activities, which can be done together with the students' family members while they are learning the concepts behind it. It was attended by more than 500 people in our city and by the different organizations across Arizona, such as our very own Lake Havasu Police Department, Unisource Energy Services, and SciTech Institute. Aside from being the STEM club advisor of our school, I was one of the 2 facilitators of our first ever STEAM enrichment camp at Smoke Tree Elementary School. For our lesson plans as one of our requirements, I am proud to say that all of my 4 lesson plans were approved, published, and were considered outstanding works, which can be accessed by anyone not only in Arizona, but anyone in the world in the ASAP website. My lesson plans focus on the molecular collision and motion, chemical reactions and the biological diversity and symbiotic relationships of flora and fauna of the Grand Canyon State, the state of Arizona. For the fund given to me by the Arizona State University, I was able to buy 3D printer, 3D pens, 3D filaments, compound microscopes, prepared microscopic slides, Newton's cradle, materials for electric circuit, dissecting needles, and more. Lastly, since I am a lifelong learner and eager to learn a lot of things, instead of just doing 30 hours of professional development, I was able to do 94 hours of professional development. I was able to attend professional developments across Arizona, and I was able to make connections in different organizations that I am bringing right now in our district. So I am so excited for year 2, and that would be all. Thank you.
Next, from Starline, we have Jen Bargos. We also have Rachel Charette, but she's not here with us. And so Jen's going to tell us about what she worked on.
I teach fifth grade gifted at Starline Elementary, and one of the things we like to do is kind of explore their passions. We have something that we do each week that's called Genius Hour, where the kids get to explore what they want. So for my project, we also did Edison robots. A lot of the kids are really into coding. They have the critical thinking skills, so we partnered with the high school, and we had some of the coding kids come over. They did some basic introduction lessons with the all 4th, 5th, and 6th grade gifted, which really got them excited for the robots. So we would do different challenges. So with my money, I bought the Edison robot mats. We got attachments. We got pen sets. So the kids were able to figure out how to do different things with them. So they utilized the pens and they were able to figure out how to do patterns and program them to do writing skills. They were able to build, they used their engineering skills to build on, they would make lifts and they would have competitions to see who could pick up the most. They had a fun day, like they wanted to do these all the time, so it was like a fun Friday type thing, so it was great because they were learning. They would do like bot challenges, they would do dance-offs, so it really piqued their curiosity in what they were doing. It was nice because we were able to share, we were able to collaborate 4th and 5th grade work together, and they would have robot days during their Genius Hour. I'm very excited this year. We're doing a greenhouse garden, so it's going to involve a little bit of everybody at school, where they're going to be working on all of the STEM aspects of engineering, math, science, and technology. So it's been a really good program, not only for my students, but for me. The professional development taught me things that I wasn't even aware, so it's helped me integrate STEM into my classroom, which is so amazing for my students. They love it. They beg to do STEM activities, so we've integrated into their Genius Hour more STEM-based learning, so it's just been a great experience. So, thank you.
Next, we have Kelsey Kendrick and Crystal Rodriguez from Jamaica. And I just want to point out, some of these teachers, they just got done from 2 hours of professional development, and they're very, very committed. And so when we think about a teacher's day, they're continuing to go.
Love it. I didn't make a speech, but I did write my questions down so I didn't talk for 30 minutes because I probably could. I used my money I just want to start by saying my main goal was to figure out how I could use what I was learning in my existing curriculum already. How could I beef it up and add STEM to it? So I used a lot of the money just to purchase materials for lessons that I created that went along with what we were already doing, but just incorporated some STEM projects with it. So things like wooden dowels, just all little kinds of tiny things. But then I also wanted to do something big and fun at the end of the year, so I also purchased Edison robots. Those were amazing, but I had a lot of fun just doing the STEM projects with the kids all throughout the year and watching those light bulbs go off as we were doing the curriculum that we already had. I also purchased kits. We didn't get to open them last year. We're using them this year. I bought different ones, about 7 different ones that cover standards from 1st grade to 3rd grade, in hopes that my 6th graders this year can be teachers and we can reach the lower level elementary kids, because last year we kept it just in 6th grade with us. Sorry, what was my part? Oh yeah, so last year it was just beefing up our curriculum and teaching robotics. I think I impacted maybe 60 to 70 students this year. I hope to reach more than 100 by turning my 6th graders into STEM teachers. We did our first STEM project today, and I learned that perseverance is going to be something we're going to have to work on before we can become teachers. My biggest takeaway, though, that I learned from this project, and that I think would be amazing for other teachers to learn, is what our kids are capable of. The things that I saw last year were amazing, things that I thought for sure they wouldn't know how to do, like the robots. They took it and ran. By the end of the week, they were creating catapults and shooting me with rubber bands from across the room using an Edison robot that at the beginning on Monday they had never touched before. So it was really great, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I not done the fellowship, so I look forward to my 2nd year.
Hi, good evening. Mine does mirror a lot with Miss Kendrick because we did work closely together because we both are in sixth grade. So along with impacting our students from last year, we're hoping to integrate it to our lower levels as well. I did purchase my 3D printer, so a bigger printer with all the filament, along with Lego robotics, and then a couple different expansion kits, along with individual engineering kits that I did get at the end of the year. So we're hoping to implement them throughout this year and watching those light bulbs go off with different challenges I was thinking those, perseverance, right? That seems to be the word that I've heard a lot today, but it's going to be something that they're going to work on a lot and work through those struggles, learning those new things. Also attending more than 20 hours of some amazing professional development that would guide me throughout last year and this year. So the impact was significant in our school, along with other teachers in the district that I've talked to and other schools and districts throughout Arizona. It's been a great experience. My goal was simple: to integrate these tools into our current curriculum as well, with Amplify Science, and exposing the students to the world of STEM and what it actually means for that. We explored climate zones and ocean currents towards the end of the year, integrated some STEM projects into that as well through our curriculum, so that was great. So essence, just these young minds are rapidly changing, and for them to be able to continue on nurturing just their knowledge of STEM and the learning in general.
And next we have Lee Nig from Havasupai.
Hello, everybody. I purchased Edison bots. They're very popular. They're also very educational, and I did very similar stuff as them. And what they didn't tell you was they said, yeah, you're going to get a check. But the check actually didn't come until like almost the beginning of April. So we really didn't get a whole lot of time by the time you got the stuff. And as you know, April testing and all that stuff. So at the end of the year, I used the Edison bots with my students, 55 students in my classes between the two sixth grade classes at Havasupai. But my big project was, and I did a summer camp. I got a hold of Mrs. Festadiego and said, hey, I'd like to do a 2-day camp. And the reason why I wanted to do a camp was because for 5 years I taught Camp Invention, and it was either at Starline or Jamaica or Thunderbolt. We switched around all different schools. And in those 5 years, we had about 100 students per year, so 500 students. And in all those years, there was only 3 students from Havasupai. This last year, Camp Invention was $280. Most of my students cannot afford that. So I talked to Mrs. Festadiego, said, hey, I'd like to piggyback on the summer school and offer a STEM camp for our students. And I had 31 4th and 5th graders that were there, so all total about 80 students. But then what I did is I grabbed 3 6th graders who were going to be 7th graders, and I used them as teachers, as you were doing, and they were the ones who were actually teaching. So we had 3 different stations. One was Ed Bots, because that's what I purchased with my money. Julie Johnson, who retired, who's not here, who was the other STEM for this last year, she bought a 3D printer. And then another teacher that was there also did a magnets. The cool part was how the community backed us and helped support us, which doesn't get credit enough, and this individual never wants their name said, so I won't say their name, but I told them that, yeah, we bought the 3D printer, which was $2,400, but they don't tell you is you have to buy the plastic that goes with it that you actually do for the filament, and it's like $380 for a color pack. He reached in his wallet and gave me $800 and said, buy yourself 2 of them. So thank you to him, and that was it for me. Thank you.
I have to thank Mr. Nick. He really changed my thinking and said, well, why can't we do this as summer school? And so there were 2 schools that they requested for their project to do summer school, and it was 2 days. And so instead of kids paying, it was free of charge, and we aligned it, and it worked at our Title I schools that it was part of their summer school. So I really appreciate him for pushing me to think about that. So next from Oro Grande, we have Carol Nowakowski and Rebecca Benal.
Hello, my name is Becca Benel, and I teach fourth grade at Oro Grande Classical Academy. And this year or last year, I guess, I wanted to not only supply our STEM club, which I run after school, but I also wanted to delve into the Amplify curriculum that I teach for fourth grade and buy 5 kits in several different areas so that it would support the units that I teach in my classroom and also my co-teacher. So we have an energy transfer unit, and they were able to, this year they built electrical circuits and got to, really see how it transferred from the battery to the light or the motion or whatever, and it really added some depth to the curriculum. In addition to that, my life science unit has a little bit of a yawner, I'm not gonna lie. So I bought cell models, a cat model where you can see all of the inner sides of the cat, and a synthetic frog dissection kit, which they got to use last year, which was excellent. For geology, we bought a stream table for erosion to show how erosion and how that works, so that it adds also a little more interest into the geology unit that is part of our Amplify curriculum. And then finally, for our natural resources for energy, we built a windmill last year and put it up on the fence outside of Oro Grande. They also had small kits that they did to show how it generated light and it lit up a light bulb within the classroom. In addition to that, I also brought 10 Edison robots to use and for the students to code, and they've been doing that this fall in our after-school STEM club, 3 through 6th grade. I also bought some Pocket Lab sensors, and they sense things like speed and velocity, and they send it to a Bluetooth device so you can actually measure what's happening for your projects. Last year, my students learned the lunar cycle using cookies, and I also utilized my STEM students as teachers, and they were able to build the lunar model with the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade students as teachers. We learned about chemical reactions with elephant toothpaste, which is a rage on YouTube. If you are a parent, you know about it. We did a very mild elephant toothpaste, and we also were able to learn all of the aspects, or many of the aspects of the chemical reaction that's actually happening within that experiment. And then my students were teachers for the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. We planted potatoes. We grew 80 pounds of potatoes. We studied insulative properties and built a solar heater that heated the outside air from 60 degrees to 120 degrees. We also, it was pretty cool. And we also cooked cookies in solar ovens, which was always a hit. We learned about force, friction, and speed, building in bobsleds and catapults, and they were able to persevere. And with their disappointment in their 1st, 2nd, and 3rd builds, they went from being able to launch the Lima Bean a mere 3 feet at max, that was our biggest on our first day, to 22 yards. So they got it up to 66 feet, and they were pretty stoked about that. So all in all, it was a wonderful year. And the last thing that we did was to build a maker's space kit that rolls to different classrooms so that every teacher could have that maker space. As a classroom teacher, it's hard to think, I need to collect all the popsicle sticks and whatever. It's all on the cart, and they can roll it into their rooms and use it. And with that, that was an impact of about 330 students. Thank you.
So as Kelsey and Crystal did, I tried to align 6th grade with what we were doing in our classrooms. So I utilized our history and our science. So history, as Lee said, we didn't get our funding until closer to the end, but we were starting the Enlightenment series unit. So I said, Newton's Law. So we focused on that and then did a lot of different little activities. I used my Thursdays to do that. We did balloon rockets. And then when we moved into the thermal unit, they figured out how to warm my coffee the longest. And so that was one of my favorite ones because we did, but I did buy Sphero balls and Edison's. I did have a lot of kids that really liked to, we learned about the angles, which was I really enjoyed because they have to actually code the angles and the colors, and they thought that was neat. They first wanted to I said, no, you have to code. And so I met with my computer teacher, and she actually helped and supported in there. And so we coded in computer lab, and then they came and utilized it. I did meet with our tech department, and our tech department got the Education Sphero on all of my kids' laptops so they actually could code from their personal computer in the classroom. But because of the funding, we did have a former teacher at our school that was really involved in such as the Sphero balls. So I went and found those. I went and found the cubelets, and the kids got to build and do a lot of modeling and coding with the cubelets and the Edison balls and the Sphero balls. So that's what I spent my money closer to the end on those things, but we did a lot of little things that involved our curriculum. So.
And then our final elementary school is Amy DePoit from Nautilus.
Last one, I promise. It'll be fast. My favorite part about this project and why I signed up for a second year was the free choice. This money was ours to pick the projects that we were passionate about. So that was my very favorite part about it. Networking with the other, down in Phoenix, NAU, a lot of us drove to a lot of different places for the professional development. That was my very favorite part. Last year, my project was 3D printing. I got it later, and I also run an after-school STEM club, and I made sure I had all my supplies and stuff for that. So I'm continuing on with that with my 3D printing, and this year I was fortunate enough to be picked again, and I think I'm going to do robots. The money and funding hasn't come through yet, so I still have a little bit of time, but I think that's what I'm leaning towards. Our school doesn't have any robots, or it didn't have any 3D printing, so I'm trying to do things that the kids would want to do. Also, partner with us has been the Civil Air Patrol, and they also provide a lot of things for free to our classrooms, and please take advantage if you guys haven't. Some of us are already doing that, and they fly us in a plane over the school. So they will do that once a year, and I know someone signed up. Where's Carol? Carol's going. Okay, thank you.
And last is Thunderbolt, and Mickey Muschietti could not be here tonight, but he did want to share that he purchased a couple of 3D printers and several robots and started a 3D printing and robotics club at Thunderbolt. So far, they're working with 27 kids, and he'll be participating again. But we do have from Thunderbolt, Brian Clifford.
I'm Brian Clifford. I teach advanced science, 7th grade. I've been there for 7 years now. The great thing about advanced science is we get to go deeper into a lot of the subjects. What I did with this was to purchase a number of telescopes, added a unit at the very end of the year to explore astronomy. And then through this year, we are adding a astronomy club. We've had our first meeting. We'll be having our first viewing later this month, and we're slowly gathering students. So far, our impact has been 100 students last year in the unit that we shared with them on astronomy, and we've got the club going. The biggest thing that I got from this was the the networking. I worked with ASTA, the Arizona Science Teachers Association, and districts in Tucson through the University of Arizona. And so through that, got a lot of really great information on methodology and just things that can be included and used to augment what we're doing. And that is influencing my students from here on out. So, you know, that's at least 100 a year. It's going to be an ongoing thing. This is not just a one-off. That's the beauty of it. So, thank you.
So can we give them all a round of applause again? So I know that we've worked on STEM for years. ASU's been a big partner, but we're really excited to continue this. We know that this money is not sustainable. This is one more year, and then the grant is done. We do have community partners who are interested, but really thinking about sustainability and how do we make sure that we're not doing the same thing with robots every single year, and aligning so we can know that something's guaranteed and viable, and it's both supporting our major curriculum, supporting STEM clubs, and supporting other STEM activities. And so I'm thankful for the teachers, the program, community partners, including ASU Havasu, LHUSD K-12 Foundation, and the Rotary Clubs who've been longtime donors and supporters of STEM initiatives, and we're excited to move forward again. So thank you.
I see people wanting to take photos. Come over here.
Moving on to 2.2, we have the Lake Havasu City Education Association and Carol Norikowski.
Good evening, President, members of the board, superintendent, directors, community. So I'm just up here to remind you that next time we meet, it will be American Education Week, which is November 13th through the 17th, with the following days. For the week, Monday is just the kickoff day to celebrate excellence in education. The Tuesday is Family Day, where we encourage sites to invite parents into the classroom to experience what the day is like for their child. Wednesday is Educator Support Personnel's Day site, where we encourage sites to show appreciation for all of our ESPs, and we'll do a little something on that day for all of our sites. On Thursday is Educator for a Day, where we encourage sites to invite community leaders to experience the day as educators and experience the challenges of teaching and the needs of students with the guidance of a school employee. And then finally is Friday is Substitute Educators Day, where we encourage sites to recognize our substitutes on that day, but possibly throughout the week, just thanking them. Some sites I know write thank you notes to them, to our substitutes, or get them a little treat, but in appreciation for them coming and taking care of our classrooms when we're not able to. So thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Moving on to 3.1, do we have a call to the public? Moving on to 4.1, do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on to 5.1, business services with our annual bond update for 2023.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. according to ARS 15-491K, the district is required to hold a public meeting annually between September 1st and October 31st until bond proceeds are spent, at which time an update of the progress of capital improvements financed through bonding is discussed, and at which time the public is permitted an opportunity to comment. The bond report gives a summary of each bond project and the combined expenditures to date. And I do have a visual to present before you, so that way you can see the items with photos and with some captioning as well. So you can see there in the PowerPoint, this is what was included in the voter pamphlet. The column on the left shows the items in which the bond was advertised to the public. And the estimated costs are in that middle column. And then the expenditures to date, or the expenditures to the fiscal year 6/30/23, are on the column to the right in each of those categories. Expenditures for fiscal year 23 was $3,627,238. So some of the photos that back up those numbers, it's a lot better to look at a picture than it is a bunch of words on a page, but you can see these are projects that have gone, they were before you in the past to construct, remodel, and renovate school facilities. That first slide shows improvements being made to Nautilus Elementary so far. This facility is currently under construction. The visual on the right is just an aerial view of the entire campus. All parts of that campus, front, side, and rear, will be impacted by this. So far, the front of the campus is mostly complete. There still are a few areas to the left side of that front entrance that need to be addressed, as we are still working with architects and soon-to-be school facility board to hopefully get approval for activity center and basketball courts, which are to the left side of that campus. So once we have the design complete, then we can finish off the remaining portion of the front so that the concrete slabs all tie together nicely. On the next slide, you see photos of Havasupai, which is again currently under construction, much like Nautilus. The center photo is the aerial. Again, all parts of this campus, very similar to Nautilus, will be impacted. The photo on the right shows what that campus looked like as of Saturday morning. That photo there, the ramp is now completely poured, concrete is in place. But this campus, like Nautilus, is very much a construction zone at this time. All safety netted off and safety fence throughout to still allow kids to and staff to, while not conveniently, still navigate around that campus while they are renovating the site. The next slide, no visuals on this one, but there'll be more to come. This is projects. This indicates the projects that were started in fiscal year 23. The Library Technology Center is now complete, but it was not completed as of end of fiscal year. But that is an interior remodel where students can come and get laptop assistance for the one-to-one devices that are on that campus. Land improvements, again, as noted in the photos before, Havasupai and Nautilus Elementary are both receiving land improvements in the areas of fencing, walkways, playgrounds, staircases, ramps, surfaces, fields, etc. The next slide, more visuals regarding technology. While these aren't actual photos of what's coming out of the boxes, they're very similar. So we have purchased quite a few laptop carts, projectors, surveillance, security cameras, laptops, and desktop computers. Also, we've also purchased hover cams and other peripheral type items, all as part of the bond proceeds indicated through the voter pamphlet in
How are we doing on
2016.
security cameras?
What's that?
The security cameras? How are we
Correct.
doing on those?
They are in place at this time. The only thing that is being addressed are the one-offs, the onesie-twosies, where the school sites have petitioned the technology department to add a camera in a location where maybe the coverage wasn't as good.
Yeah.
So right now, those are continually ongoing discussions, and I think they will be for quite some time. But they are largely, they are installed at this point. Transportation, we received 3 buses this fiscal year in fiscal year '23, 2 special needs buses and a route bus. And we have 2 route buses and 1 special need bus currently on order. We're hoping to receive those either by the end of the calendar year or in the beginning part of 2024. The next slide, we have maintenance vehicles and a food service vehicle that was purchased through bond funds. These are the 2 on the bookends there, the left and the right. These are the 2 transit vans that were purchased. And then you'll recall that I came back before you a while later saying that they were canceled by Ford. And then a while later, I came back before you again saying they showed up in our backyard. So these were ultimately purchased. We still have a couple maintenance vehicles that we're waiting on, maintenance trucks. But then that one food service van in the middle of your photo there. The next slide is just major projects for the future. So every school campus has been touched in some way, shape, or form. Oro Grande, Starline, Jamaica, they are fully built out, I guess, for the current trajectory and budget. Doesn't mean that we won't do more in the future, but they have received major renovations at those campuses, the high school and Thunderbolt as well. Havasu, Pi Nautilus, as I mentioned, are currently under construction, and then this last project will be at Smoke Tree, which will hopefully come before you in the spring. That's what we're hoping, the spring or early summer. And you can see the aerial there, and that's a current proposed drawing or schematic of that campus. There's a lot of work to be done there, like the other campuses as well. So that is coming up here in the future. The final report of the bond, this is also a bond and override report as dictated by statute. So we do have a 15% maintenance and operations budget override in place. We are in year 7 of that override. So we are in the 7th and final year where we receive only one third funding this year. Next year, we will be at 0 funding for the override as it will expire. So in reporting expenditures or areas in which we've expended those monies, in fiscal year '23, we continued that one-time cost of living adjustment in fiscal year '23. We continue to cover employee medical insurance premiums at 100%. We continue to have the reduction in athletic participation fees from $800 before the override to $400 currently. We continue to have full-time elementary specials, art, music, and PE in our elementary schools. And we continue to make up the other half of what the state funds for full-day kindergarten as a result of this maintenance and operations override. As the state only funds 0.5 of our students, we know that we have to educate the full child, not half the child. So we do make up the other half in our override funds that were provided to us by the voters in 2016. And that's all I have for the bond update.
I move that we approve 5.1 as presented.
It's a discussion item. There's no approval.
Now, this is available for public comment, and this is part of that process if there are questions.
With the override coming to the end, are we in discussions with the community about looking at renewing it?
So we are going to meet with a group of people just to look at what have we spent the money on? What would we do if we were to go back to the voters and have that be approved again? And what's the timing for all of that?
Moving on to 6.1, we have Superintendent Stone with the second reading of the updated trust model policies.
Mr. President, members of the board, the updated trust model policies are being presented for adoption tonight after the initial reading on September 19th. There have been no changes since the first reading, and I'll just give you some highlights very quickly. 1-103, the organizational meeting, which we hold in January every year, can now be held at any meeting in January. It does not have to be done before the 15th. 1-105 allows board members to be employed by the district after their term has expired, only in a position that directly serves students, such as a teacher or support personnel. 1-302 requires that board meetings have sufficient seating and notifies the public when the meeting room will be open. 3-301 requires food handlers licenses. We have always done that. It is just now part of the policy. 3-302 makes students in foster care eligible for transportation. 3-403 allows all required district information posted on the website to be consolidated into one single web page with a link on our homepage if we choose to do so. 4-404 adds the provision of reasonable accommodations for known limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or pregnancy-related medical conditions. And 5-410 updates the pages where AIA policies can be found for interscholastic activities.
I move that we accept 6.1 as presented.
I'll second that.
Yes.
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 Moving on to 6.2 in Human Resources with our Administrator Performance Pay Plan and criteria for 2023 and 2024.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. On September 11th, 2012, the governing board approved an alternative procedure to meet the requirements of Senate Bill 1263, Arizona Revised Statute 15341A. Using the alternative procedure, principals, assistant principals, directors, and the superintendent will receive an equal portion of a designated sum if they meet all requirements. The breakdown of the requirements will be as follows: 33% for academic gain, 33% for parent satisfaction, and 33% for professional development and facilitation of student achievement data talks. The alternative procedure chosen by LHUSD has previously been approved by legal. And here are the three goals in just a little bit more detail. 80% of school sites will show academic gains as measured using pre-post assessment data aligned with their 301 site-based goals. Parental satisfaction, the number of parents who indicate a school satisfaction rating of excelling, highly performing, or performing will be maintained or exceeded at 80%. And then lastly, all eligible administrators will plan and lead 3 data analysis meetings focused on addressing Tier 2 supports at the individual student level. District level administrators will serve as thought partners to site administrators. Meetings may be held school-wide, grade level specific, or content specific, as determined by the site administrator and as best meets the needs of the school. This will be completed by May 1st.
So what's the last 1% for?
The last 1%.
Yeah, because it's only nine. I'm just kidding. It's a math guy. 99%.
33.3 repeating. How's that? 33 1/3%.
I knew you would get that.
Yes.
And the parental satisfaction is determined by a survey?
That's correct.
I move that we accept 6.2 as presented.
I'll second that.
Yes.
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 Moving on to 6.3, Human Resources for our Performance Pay Site-Based Goals for 2023 and 2024.
Lake Havasu Unified School District and its stakeholders have high expectations for our students, teachers, and administrators. Each site sets goals annually to improve student learning. These goals are submitted to and approved by the superintendent each fall, and then those goals are presented to the governing board for approval per the previously approved 301 framework. Successful attainment qualifies staff members to receive 25% of site-based goals money for each of the 4 components. So we do have 100% here. The 4 components are as follows: student achievement, professional development, family engagement, and then the individual summative evaluation score. 5 of our elementary schools have chosen math as their goal, focusing on operations and algebraic thinking, number and operations in base 10, and the number system. Pre to post test data will be used to show growth or proficiency. 1 elementary school and Thunderbolt Middle School have chosen literacy goals with a focus on providing text-based evidence with both fiction and nonfiction texts using targeted Tier 2 intervention, co-teaching, and the engagement cycle as instructional strategies to promote literacy development. Pre and post test data will be used to show growth or proficiency. All of our elementary sites have a PE and either a music or art performance component in their plan. And Lake Havasu High School has chosen a goal measuring student performance on targeted objectives from the semester 1 final exams. Pre to post test data will be used to show growth or proficiency on this as well. Lastly, our academic counselors, or our academic coaches and teachers on assignment will provide support at the sites by assisting with professional development, assessment and data analysis, or progress monitoring for IEPs. And our counselors will provide targeted instruction to students to remove barriers to academic success by giving them tools and resources to help with both academic achievement and emotional wellness.
I do really appreciate the work that has gone into these. I remember where we were with these about 3-4 years ago, where they were just kind of these things that were just here and kind of, just rolling. I really like the fact that each site is determining their goals. In reading through and I really encourage you, especially parents at the schools that you're at, to really look at these goals. They are very detailed. There was a lot of thought that went into these goals and what they're looking at. They were using it from data they've seen from previous testing runs and other things, because there are a lot of different type of goals. Of course, I was looking at the math ones. But really looking at like number sense and digging deep to kind of look at the different goals. I think we're at a great place moving forward, being kind of a numbers guy. The next thing I'd like to really see as a part of a progression is seeing as a board member how they met the past ones and starting to evaluate if the goals they're looking at are good ones moving forward. So just as kind of a note moving forward, I would really like to see that data before the next cycle.
I agree.
I like it that you have an emphasis in art and music, and I was wondering if you could speak a little more how you envision reaching those goals through our resources and our staffing.
So at each of our sites, we have either semester-long art and semester-long music or year-round, just depending on the size of the site. Those teachers meet collaboratively through articulation to determine the goals that they see most appropriate for their students, and then they target a specific grade level, and then they develop those goals with the support of their 301 site-based council to determine, is this really supporting the needs of our students? I think there is an opportunity hearing tonight about everything going on with STEM. We know there's also STEAM, and we know that music, math, art, all of that sort of aligns together. So I think that could be some interesting conversations to see how we could maybe bring art and music into some of those STEM initiatives as well. What that might look like in the form of a pre-post test, I'm not entirely sure. That's not my wheelhouse, but I know we have our administrators here tonight, and that's something they could definitely share back on how do we align these things.
I move that we accept 6.3 as presented.
I'll second that.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on to 6.4, we have business services with the architect services for the district office complex and building site improvements.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. Renovating school sites have been a priority since the passage of the voter-approved bond in November of 2016. Security, building, and land improvements have been completed and are currently in progress or are in the design or pre-construction phase for each of our 8 school sites. Design work for the district office complex is necessary to allow the district to communicate structural and spatial needs and review design options to guide future conversations for building and land improvements to this facility. Associated architects will be procured through 1GPA contract 23-18P-03 in the amount of $17,820 per provided written proposal and defined scope of work. M&O or other approved funds for purchase services or construction-related services will be used for this project.
I move that we present that we accept 6.4 as presented.
I'll second that.
Yes.
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 Moving on to 6.5, business services or vouchers, student activity funds, and auxiliary funds.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board members, approval of vouchers for September of 2023, K-12 student activity funds and auxiliary funds for September 2023 are before you tonight.
Any motion or discussion?
I move to approve 6.5.
I'll second.
Yes.
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 Moving on to 7.1, we have our informational from our superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight you heard from all of our STEM fellows, and when you talk to teachers, they're always excited about their work and talking about the things they're doing in their classroom. But what you saw tonight was joy of what they've been able to accomplish themselves, but also what they saw their kids accomplish, which was fun to hear. And I know that when they're with those kids, it's more exciting for them to see. And I heard a couple of them say, I wasn't expecting my kids to know that much, but they were actually able to show them, I can do some amazing things here. Thanks for putting these tools in my hands. So I just want to thank all of them for taking that opportunity. I know it's a lot of work on top of what you already do, but to see what it's doing for our kids is amazing. So thank you for all of that.
Moving on to 7.2, informational from our governing board members.
I'd like to kind of piggyback on that and maybe even make a suggestion. We saw the passion in STEM today. And, you know, that is something that is true in this community. In fact, you know, when we were doing a call for a magnet school, the Classical Academy was, you know, first place, but STEM was a close second. I'd really like to see us continue this momentum and maybe talk about getting a stakeholder group together to continue this, perhaps, you know, augment this in the classrooms, maybe get it towards going to a STEM magnet school. So I would really, and I guess maybe thinking for a future agenda item, kind of thinking about getting that process started so that we could see what that looks like, especially since the funding is ending for this one project. Can we keep this going in the elementary schools and then maybe even augment it to where we have a STEM magnet and continue these programs through junior high and high school? So I would like kind of to get a report on that and get that started.
Moving on to 8.1, do we have another call to the public? Any board suggestions for future agenda items? Other than
Jump the gun.
Any media clarifying questions from the press? And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Yes.
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 This meeting is adjourned.